Yeah, that's nice. Really nice. Really nice. Yeah, really, really nice. Really nice. Yeah, look at that smile. Then who's smiling more, you or me? So tell me where your game's at the moment then.
This time when I come back, what I hope to improve is actually just one thing. Is the driver.
Yes.
My driver
Yeah.
keeps slicing.
Okay, great.
That is my hope this time.
Yeah, yeah, great. What sort of scores have you been shooting on like at the moment? About 100, yeah. What's the lowest you've shot ever?
100.
Yeah.
101, 102.
So what we're going to do now, hit some drives. I've put some spray on the face just to see where you're striking it. Give us some awareness there. I'm going to put you on a fairway just to make it a little bit more
Easier.
or realistic. So I would say easier. Far away, mate. Let's maybe see 7 or so shots. Nice hit there, good strike. So would that kind of be the one that, that's obviously a pretty decent result there, but is that kind of typical when you hit it well?
Yeah, the minor push it to the right.
Yeah.
Nowadays. But initially a month ago is like towards the house.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. That's good. Let's get stuck in. So I'm seeing some consistent numbers there, things that I want to look at. Great stuff. All right. Let's, if I borrow your driver, if I may, let's have a little chat about what's happening. So, okay. So, from a strike perspective, the best players in the world with all the clubs, the three things they do really well is one, they control their strike. So they're able to control it, not only heel to toe, but also high and low. So not too bad here, but you can see maybe just a little bit higher of the sweet spot, maybe a little bit towards the heel as a bit of a pattern. Have you heard of gear effect before? Gear effect. So gear effect is a good one just to Google when you get home, but essentially if you hit it out of the heel of the club with the driver, anyway in this segment, all else being equal, it's going to produce more slice spin on the ball. It'll also reduce your ball speed a little bit, and create typically more backspin, so potentially losing a bit of distance there. So, whilst it's fairly consistent, you've obviously got good coordination with previous sports. We'd just maybe like to shift that ever so slightly more towards the toe and a little bit lower. So some of the swing work we look at today can help with that, but I'd always recommend to players, no matter what level, training with some strike spray or some feedback just to figure that out. But, out of 7 shots there, that's pretty consistent spread. When we look at the directions, obviously you've come in mentioning the direction as the main concern. Today you've actually hit some pretty good ones, like not too, a few missed the fairway, but overall pretty good. But that general pattern, as you say, like that last one, when it does start to leak a little bit.
Yes. So imagine this is hole 6, then this started to happen.
Yeah. So, when you get that, we've got to look, okay, well, what are the factors causing that? So if we look at your general swing as a whole over those 7 shots, this is kind of what we call the swing direction, your general, where the sweet spot's traveling through the swing. So minus is to the left on TrackMan, positives to the right. So essentially as you come into the ball here, your swing shape is going this way. So your club is traveling to the left, and as a result, traveling down. So you notice the number on the bottom left here, that attack angle number. Can you see that number there? So -5 is your club traveling down at impact. So as a result of your club swinging left, it's also shifting that low point further forward. So you're actually hitting left and down on the ball. So we're coming this way. And then, what that can do, a couple of things, that can then present in those higher strikes, because when the club's traveling down, typically we start to see the club or the ball hitting higher on the face. But also it can start to obviously influence a left to right shot because we're swinging left. And now depending on my club face, if my club face is in line with where I'm swinging, you're going to get those pulls that you mentioned. So you've had a few sort of pull hooky ones. But if you have it a little bit open to that swing or that path, you're going to slice it like that last one there. But you can see it's a very, you have definitely have that tendency, a pulled shot, a nice fade or the slice. So this is where it comes from. This is where it comes from the shape of the swing as a whole. So if we can affect that one thing there and get that closer to zero, if anything today, just to give you the opposite feel, we'd maybe like to see that as a training. Yeah, so instead of being 7 degrees left, can we today give you the feels, the tools to get you 7 degrees right? So more of a draw pattern, and then you feel where the middle is if you want to hit a straight one. I've got a real simple thing for you today that's really, really going to help. Just on a side note as well, I think we're going to get some real free distance as we get this as well, because you can see the sort of smash factor there at 1.38, that number there. We'd like to see that closer to about 1.48. I think a lot of that just comes, that's your efficiency of strike. If you're glancing it a little bit more and hitting down, like effectively you're not getting that club quite, so your ball speed's, your ball speed's going to reduce a bit. And you can see your spin rate there up at 4,000, just above 4,000. We'd like to see that closer to sort of the mid 2000s-ish, depending on how you're delivering the club. Towards the end of this session, I'm sure we're going to see your distances increase as well. Let's look at the swing. And we're going to shift one thing that's going to affect a lot of these numbers for free. What I really like is, you're setting up definitely in more of a draw-by setup. So I like that, you've got your shoulders aiming out to the right. I like, these alignments are good with your forearms. Most players that slicing it are having the setting up like this. So I like your tilts. So you're in a lot of good aspects. I was expecting you when you're setting up like that to really hit a draw. Yes, yeah, very close. Minor tweaks to that, but very happy with that. As Jack Nicklaus said, back in the day, like 50% of the shot's your intention, 40% is then your setup. So you're setting up relative to a draw, really, all else being equal. Then 10% is the execution. Your swing itself, we're just not quite getting the swing on plane, as you can see, mainly in the backswing. So, we're going to leave the setup as it is for now. We're just going to really focus on that backswing. So as we go back, we'll see we just pick the arms up and the club is very much above the plane.
Yes, this is intentional.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, why is that?
I try many things, right? This is the only thing that I found out I actually can reduce and then make it more center into the part. But then I know it's wrong. That's why I come to you.
Yeah, well, this is great. So we want to get the club somewhat within here. That would be considered more on plane. As you work down here from that position, very difficult to get it back in that slot. So basically, where you're putting the club in the backswing is then affecting your downswing. You've actually moved well. I mean, you've got a lot of good aspects to how you move. If we can just put your club deeper in the backswing, it's going to have a huge knock-on effect with that swing direction. So not to say you've got to swing it like these guys, but I'm just going to show you some visuals, some examples. Look at the swing here. Just notice how it's come more around.
Lower.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can get away with that a little bit with like wedges and things like that because they want to be swung a little bit more upright. But as you get to your longer clubs, certainly like a driver, it's got to be swung more around. So from that position, your hands are more over your toes. If we can get your hands in a slightly bigger turn here, more over your ankles, you're going to fall back in this position way easier. Back in that slot, if you like. Just for a visual again, just Rory, obviously one of the best drivers out there. Again, everyone's body's so different. We're not saying getting to these exact positions, but just as a visual, you'll see another little pattern here, like at the top of the swing. Butt of the club there is more over his ankles. And so, yeah, really, if we can just get you that, bigger turn, in effect, getting your left shoulder maybe a little bit more over your right foot, again, that club a bit deeper behind you, that's going to have a massive knock-on effect here. And honestly, I think we'll get a load of wins. So that backswing, I think, will really improve your impact. So let's break this down piece by piece. Think of the body, this golf swing a bit like a car. Like the body's the engine, the hands and arms are steering. Now, if we can get your body working a bit better. So But really we're looking for about 45 degrees of hip turn, and then for about 90 degrees of shoulder turn. So as you can see, you're probably getting to about here with your shoulders, and it's not allowing you to get that depth. So as you turn that shoulder more, you're going to put that golf club deeper behind you. So a very simple one with the club along your shoulders here, we're trying to get that left shoulder more over your right toe where possible. Obviously when you hit your end range, you hit your end range, but what that's going to allow then is your ability to get the club deeper behind you. So that's your
Basically 2 times. One is 45
45 with the hips.
furthermore with the shoulder.
Correct, correct. So that's going to allow you to get more depth, because whenever you get into that sort of more, let's say, restricted upper body turn, we'll typically see a club where that butt of the club there is more over the toes. So then from that position, there's a heck of a lot of work to do to get it back in here. So then the player will just, and as you rotate, and you rotate well, but rotation itself steepens the club. So if we just leave our arms there and rotate, it's always going to come back out. So you're always going to get that left swing. So that's why it's probably been difficult for you to get from there to get the swing out to the right, because it's going to be nearly impossible. So it's a bigger turn with your shoulders, and notice how that gets my club working more on that plane that we shared before. Now with that bigger turn and continuing to work around, now the butt of your club's more over the ankles, if not behind it, for you as a feel. So when you start your downswing, as you bang, you're going to be right in here. Your swing shape is going to go from there to here without you changing a great deal. So let's just look at the video, get it looking good, get that swing direction shifting the other way. Then we'll start to get that at the end of the session. We'll start to bring awareness to your face and your strike. But effectively, we're going to try and start to hit some draws versus the fades. And then you've got the tools to get somewhere in the middle, depending on what you want to hit. Make sense? Just to get this understanding of, where you want to be. Yeah, I mean, yeah, keep that. I don't want to change too many variables. It's definitely going to work in your favour for this. In the future, you might just soften it a little bit, but I think for now, that's fantastic. Fantastic turn. Yeah. That's it. So essentially, your shoulders here, if I was to just put a little stick here on your right, your right foot, you're trying to get that club to match up to that stick. So from here, there. So now you see 45 degrees in the hips. Yeah, beautiful. So you see I'm just spending a little bit of time on this just to get your body right, the engine right, and then we can start to work on steering the club with your hands and arms. So now you'll notice at the top, you look at the right here, look on the right, so you can see a beautiful, beautiful turn. That's more than 90 degrees, fantastic. Hips have actually turned more, which is better. I actually like that. I like how your left knees come in a little bit here, your legs have changed flex, allowed your hips to turn, shoulders to turn. I mean, yeah, it's pretty good effort there, but you can see how limited that turn is. It really affects where you can put the club in the backswing. So I love that, that's amazing. So if you can get that feel, left shoulder over the right toe or club over that stick, that's your body. And I bet now when we put the club down and just do some dry swings without the ball, let's try and get that club deeper behind us. I mean, that's a good effort, first of all. It's a really, really good effort. So what I'm going to do here is just make some slight adjustments. But notice that kind of width here you've got as well. So more around, getting that nice turn, more around, beautiful. Beautiful. You can even go a bit further there, so you'll feel a little bit of a stretch. You might even feel a bit of a pinch along your left pec there, almost as though that, that lead arm just comes across a little bit more. Right, check this out now. Okay, now we're cooking. So look at that difference in the takeaway on the right versus the left there. So then as you work it to the top, so you've got that much more depth to your club. I mean, we'll leave this a bit for now, but you've definitely got your face closing plenty. You've definitely got more of a more bowed or flex lead wrist.
Slice too much.
Yeah, is that why you've done it? Is that why you've done it, to try and stop the slice? Yeah.
Slice too much, you need to have some kind of compensation.
Yeah. Well, we'll leave that as is for now. We'll see how things react. But if we can today just get you more on plane, I'd be very, very happy. That's actually really, really nice. But I like to exaggerate, because if you're comfortable out here, finding the right spot is good, but you probably only move it this much in actual fact. So what I like to do for players is exaggerate, exaggerate, exaggerate. So if you go, you know, if you're living here, well, let's go, boom, for a few, so that when, you know, you're going to find the middle much quicker. Sometimes I might get a player to even get a golf glove here, just on the left armpit here, and just feel like they keep that in during the takeaway and to the top of the swing, and they just keep that in there. You know, if you're getting to that position, so that can be a little cue. It's a nice turn, bang. Have a look at that. And then we'll get hitting some shots in a second. This is great. Yeah, you got mega tilts. Probably just soften that just a hair. But I can see, you know, you've obviously done some research online. You work in the right direction. You know, to some extremes to some degree, but great. But just your backswing is just the last piece. So this is good. So from here, try and keep that in as you turn. Yeah, see that? That one can just let that go a little bit there. Bit of freedom through there. That's sort of what we're looking for. Fantastic turn.
I'm a bit afraid to actually do it like this because of the size.
I understand. Yeah. I get it. Yeah. Trauma. Slice trauma. Yeah.
So this one can actually like a little.
Yeah. You want a bit of freedom. Now we're cooking. Now I'll put this on your video at the end just to give you some visuals, but look at that at the top. So you've got a bit of freedom with your right arm. So if you're going to throw a ball and be, you know, athletic, you'd have a bit of freedom here. What you don't want is, you know, crazy, excessive, or pinding. That's not very powerful. Bit of freedom. Let's do a few practice swings without the ball. Get that feel going there, one leg, and then we'll get the ball in and just really try and shift that swing direction. Love that. There you go. Beautiful. I'll get rid of that for a few here, so you can just do a few swings. Beautiful. Beautiful. Beautiful swing. Holy moly. That is, there's a goose, look at that, Cage's goosebumps. This is why I spend a lot of time just on movement first, because that's just way better. Really? On the left versus on the right here, look at that position at the top. So from that position, more depth, more turn. Look where that club gets, bang. You know, so look where that club is there, look how steep and above the plane that is. Look how much more below the plane that is there. You know, coming more through the trail forearm versus, you know. And now your club's going to swing, as you can see, more out to the right. That's that hula hoop, that swing direction. Out to the right and up. Yeah, so that's the first piece. The first piece for us. Let's see what matches up from there. Okay, excited. That's good. Let's hit some balls with a pure focus on your backswing position and getting that swing direction more out to the right. Good. Golf swing. Holy smokes. There you go. All right, holy smokes. Now look at the goosebumps. Now they've just gone tenfold. That was your second swing. I think your first one would have been like that too. This is fantastic. Now you've shifted that hula hoop on those swings there. 2 degrees to the right. Now notice what's happened to your tack angle. So your tack angle there on that second swing has gone up. Because your swing's gone to the right, now I'm catching the ball slightly on the up at the point of impact. When you're swinging that way, now we've not tried to change hitting up or anything, we've just changed your swing shape. What you'll see there as well is because you're hitting up, now your spin is going to be reduced. So your spin's gone down to really low there, 1600. That's probably a bit low, but it's, you know, look at your shots there today. Obviously those first ones, your warm-up 7-irons. Look at that one there, that very first shot. And even one before. So those first 2 shots you've hit, look at the distance compared to all these drivers in orange. Yeah, yeah, good, yeah, and a different shape. And if you look at your club face there as well, incidentally, you actually hit that one, you know, more towards the toe. Those 2,
To the center
both
now.
towards the toe, those last 2 in there. So your swing where it's coming from has shifted that a little bit. And your smash factor at 1.52, that's incredibly, incredibly high. I've never seen anything above that. So that's super, super efficient.
1.5 is
A 1.48 would be a great goal. That's kind of like tour average for efficiency. 7.9, obviously it's less because more loft, etc. But that's solid. What a start. Let's look at it on video. I love this. And that's because we've spent half an hour just doing body movements. So there's your two backswings. You can see before on the right how out that was. Much more on plane on the left. Much more depth, much more turn. So that on the way down, now that club head is tracking much more on the original shaft plane through here. You can see that versus above.
okay.
Bang, absolutely out the screws. And you'll have a slightly higher exit with a golf club instead of being low and left. That's just your swing shape. Look at your turn to the top. So that's like toe level turn. I love how your feet are flared, love how your knees are working. Look at your shoulders. Love it. Lovely. Lovely. So, that alone, that one backswing change is going to affect so many different things. And I'm always looking at like what's the least invasive thing that you can change that's going to have the biggest bang for the buck. Love it. Beautiful. Love that. And he was worried about slicing. 1.51 again. He said, yeah, this is fantastic. Look at that strike again there. So those three shots, more towards the tone, and lower on the face. 1.51. Keep this going. Great strike. Good turn. So, yeah, club face. Let's get that swing going a bit more out to the right again. So just get that sensation of swinging more out to the right. Can I just show you this? Because of that bigger turn, your club speed's actually jumped up from 88 average to 93. Bigger turn, more speed. Getting lots of wins here. So in your mind's eye, your intention, can you start the ball towards those trees and just try and curve it back? Just try and be athletic from that new backswing position. So I'll give you this feel again, just so you got the feel of it. So keep hold of the club there. So, bang. Nice turn, beautiful. Yeah, look at that. And then from there. And now because you're from this side, because you're coming more on plane and slightly from the inside, now you've got permission to release it. Still doing it? So you couldn't do that from here, because if you did, you'd hit those big hooks that you mentioned, big pull hooks. So now you can go, okay, bang. Now you can start to let that club go. Yes. Oh, just hold it there. Like I'm going to go. You're a little bit high still. Just let that go a bit. Let's get a bit more across your chest there. It's almost like your arms a bit more across your shoulder line, there. So not getting too pinned in this way. Let that just free up a little bit. Let that arm just free up. There you go. There you go. Yeah, just let it free up. There you go. Yes. Absolutely. That was lovely at the top though. Really, really good. That was just your strike there. Just got that a little bit, towards the bottom of the club. So just remembering that, when you're making a swing change, this is quite a different, although the backswing's a bit easier to change in the downswing, it's a completely different position. So, at first, we've seen some great results, but at first you might lose your strike a little bit because you're thinking like your brain's going all on the swing. Mm-hmm. And that's the process of change. But over time, as that becomes a bit more embedded, then you can really focus more on your strike and get that calibrated again. But if we look, so success is, for me here, is obviously we've seen some good results, but is your backswing position. Because if I know you're on plane, look at that. That's absolutely phenomenal backswing position. Golf's going to be a lot easier from there. So from there, the club on the way down, beautifully in the slot. So just incredible. That's kind of where Rory's getting, and these guys are hitting bombs. And that was just a little bit out of the heel. But as a swing, as a technique, as an overall macro movement, phenomenal. But then you look to that shot and think, oh, that's terrible. But that's probably one of the best swings you've done. Do you know what I mean? So there's always that balance between technique and skill. So, yeah, let's go again. Really good move. Really like that again.
Preferable.
Phenomenal. So it's just a bit high in the face. It's just launched a bit high. So again, if you look at the strike marks there, just a touch high in the face. So again, just a bit of skill work, but the swing, 3 degrees.
I will be happy with this swing already if I'm on the free fan.
Oh, yes, yeah, I'm being picky because I've just seen you hitting them at 1.52, 1.39. Meh. But that's just me being picky because I know there's actually yards in there. But what a swing. What a swing. Good again.
This is already preferable.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. Phenomenal. Yeah, correct. Yeah, so, great strike. Swings in the slot. Hitting up on the ball. Club path into out. You've 6 miles, 5 mile, 6 mile an hour more club head speed, 7 mile an hour more club head speed than before. But your face was just a fraction open. Well, 4 degrees, 5 degrees too open. So that's like the skills training. Really, really good swing there. Yeah, you could probably go a little bit deeper there at the top, you see. So your old habits will come in a little bit. You'll get a little bit high with your hands. But ultimately, at impact, your face was just a bit too open. But I love all this. But this, I'd love to work on this next session. Really work on some of your face control, but really want to make sure that, so at least space out at least 6 to 8 practice sessions before our next lesson if you can, because you can give this backswing time to embed a little bit. Beautiful. Love that. Club face is always the biggest influence. That was obviously a decent strike there, but that is like 80% roughly influence on where the ball starts. So you can see why there's so much timing involved in golf. I don't care what people say. There's a lot of timing of how you get that face squared up. Some are opening and closing it more, some a bit less, but ultimately this is where the skills training comes in. And 97.
Smash factor 1.0. And the good thing is about this, right? I didn't actually feel I used a lot of strength, and then the club speed actually increased.
Yeah. Efficient.
I don't need to actually force it like that.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. That's almost like 10 mile an hour more speed without trying. Yeah, that's nice. Really nice. Really nice. Yeah, really, really nice. Really nice. The goosebumps are back again. Look at that.
I think I get the idea now.
When I see that, when you was at the start, you're pulling them, fading them, slicing them, and I see that.
Almost like 1.39.
Yeah, so that's what I say. Like before I see you now next time, if you want to introduce, get some strike spray, some foot spray, something like that, just to work on your skills, because that would have been just a little bit high in the face again. I mean, great work.
Did learn something today.
There you go. When's the last time you hit big draws like that? Yeah, look at that smile. Don't know who's smiling more, you or me. What we saw, just as from a numbers perspective, is that swing as a whole just shifting quite a bit to the left, and then typically down. So you can see your clubs was traveling down 5 degrees, often a big contributing factor to those high strikes as well, which then reduces your smash factor. And yeah, so from a distance perspective, you're probably losing a bit there based on that delivery. And so what we did there is change that quite beautifully. So you went from 88 mile an hour club head speed to 7 degrees left swing direction to a 4 degree right swing direction, hitting up 1 degrees, club speeds jumped up almost 6 miles an hour. Your smash factor jumped up from 1.38 up to 1.45. Your spin rates came down quite beautifully. And if you look at the distance numbers here, you can see comfortably above the 200s, whereas before you're just struggling a bit with that, just due to that swing direction really, and hitting down, etc. So really, really nice changes, huge gains, spin numbers right where we want to be. So we spoke about two drills. One is with your club along your shoulders, you can just simply work on the pivot, the body motion. So we're trying to get your hips to 45 degrees and your shoulders to 90. So you can always put a club on the ground next to your right foot there and just get that, all the way over your left shoulder, all the way over your right foot. That's your body, and so that's where you were before. So put the club more over your toes, whereas now it's more over your ankles. Much better club face. You don't need that big bowed wrist there. no, you can see even with that club face there, you're starting to draw it and even hook a few. So you don't need that big bowed wrist. This is amazing. If you could just work on that for the next 6 to 8 sessions there, with the video camera, just mirror, just checking that position. That's going to be huge for you. We did do a little one where you put a little glove in your left armpit, so you can see that takeaway much more in versus out. And then at the top, much more depth. And then on the way down, your club head's in that beautiful slot here, whereas before, quite high. And then as you rotate, you're going to just be swinging left and across it. So that's it. That's your work, really. Well, like this was your one at the end, just to show you this one. So much better turn. Look at that at the top there versus where we were before. That's it. So let's focus on that there, buddy, and keep up the great work, and look forward to seeing you next time.